Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video, I like to take a look at the latest satisfaction ratings for Boris Johnson and his government amongst those with the most influence, Conservative Party members. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So I'm going to take a look at how Boris Johnson's approval ratings have been impacted over time in his own party. Of course, we can see that the general public have lost faith with Johnson, but you have to be a bit careful with polls and drawing conclusions. For example, a national poll isn't as impactful as you may think. You know, you produce a poll that says a majority of the public disagree with the government policy. It might even be a strong majority. And you may think, well, here is proof that the government should drop that policy. After all, it's in their interests, isn't it? Not necessarily. Of the people opposed to that policy, many wouldn't vote Conservative anyway, so the Tories don't care about their opinions. Of the others, some won't be voting at all, and they don't care about their opinions. Some others might be willing to vote Conservative, but they're in constituencies where the Conservatives will never win enough votes to take the seat. They don't care about their opinions. Still others will also be swing voters who might vote one way or the other, but they're in a very safe Tory seat where they can afford some dissatisfaction and still win the seat. And still others may be in a marginal and maybe they're swing voters, but they won't vote on this particular issue. So even though they disagree with it, not every issue factors into people's decisions on who to vote for. Basically, the government can ignore the views of almost everyone in the country. And so national polls do not form the basis of what a government can and can't get away with. Yes, this state of affairs doesn't seem at all democratic, but there's first past the post for you. But the Conservative Party members do matter. They will be instrumental in deciding the next leader. But there will not be a new leader until some Tory MPs topple Johnson. Tory MPs do not like to be the ones to stick the knife in. It's seen as disloyal. But if they believe that the wider Conservative Party wants the current leader gone, then they will just be carrying out, the will of the party by acting against them. So when you have a poll that suggests Boris Johnson is deeply unpopular in his own party, then he may be safely toppled at the right time. The latest net satisfaction ratings on the Conservative Home website has Boris Johnson on minus 33.8. This is the lowest of any senior Conservative. He is now absolutely bottom of the pile. Now, before I take a look at just what's happened and what we can infer from it, I would like to point out another little interesting thing that appeared there. Priti Patel has just dropped into negative satisfaction ratings herself. Too evil or not evil enough? What do you think? But anyway, Johnson, 2 years ago, the same poll had Boris Johnson top of the tree, plus 92.5. Of course he was. He had just pulled the Conservative Party from the humiliating clutches of minority rule into a very strong majority. He'd crushed Labour into the bargain. There were no negative ratings for anyone at the top of government, and this is the thing. That's what you need to read into this. What the Conservatives care about is success. They don't really judge that much on how competent someone is or how honest or any other attributes, really. Are they winning? Are we getting what we want from them? 2 years ago, they were all winning. I mean, Priti Patel had a net satisfaction rating of plus 76, and she wasn't even allowed to speak really during the election campaign. Then fast forward a year later, January 2021, a year ago, Liz Truss is top, followed by Rishi Sunak. These are the ministers who are seen to be winning, to be achieving something. Sunak was seen to be managing the pandemic economically. Liz Truss was seen to be sorting out our post-Brexit trade deals. Boris Johnson had dropped down from the lofty heights of over 90 points to just 55.1. It was still positive, but not only was he not the most popular senior Conservative, he was middling, he was dropping quite a lot. He wasn't looking so strong on the pandemic. It was exposing his laziness, it was exposing his incompetence. And that's important. He was dropping before any of the scandals really broke into the public conversation. What was happening at the time was that Labour were ahead in the polls. After a few months, in April 2021, the Conservatives were enjoying a new lead in the polls. They'd regained the lead as a result of the vaccine rollout. But Conservative Party members taking part in these polls were still not impressed. If you look with Johnson, Truss and Sunak still topping the poll ratings at the time. They were seen as the achievers. Raab was doing all right. This was before Afghanistan, remember. David Frost was appearing because he was now the Brexit minister. His hard line against the EU was playing well to them. But Boris Johnson's approval ratings were dropping. At a time when he'd rescued his faith amongst the general public, it was still dropping in the Conservative Party. At a time when the public at large hadn't lost faith with him. That's interesting in itself. One hypothesis could be Brexit done, party members wanted their government to return to the comfort zone of low tax and spend. But Boris Johnson likes to talk about grand projects that are necessary to retain the so-called red wall seats, but which represent the opposite of low tax and small state. A rift was growing between the Conservatives in the south of England, which will surely represent the majority of party members, and Boris Johnson. And the rift was drawn to public attention in summer when the Liberal Democrats took the safe seat of Chesham and Amersham. While Boris Johnson had been making inroads into the north of England and Labour were panicking about this, he'd ignored his base in the south. Turns out it wasn't all that easy to appeal to both. In August, a couple of months after that shock result, Johnson was on 12.8, one of the lowest rated members of his own government. Over the course of autumn, he dropped into negative and has been going lower and lower. He's now at minus 33.8. The reason there is no way back is not just because the public have lost faith in him. It is possible that the recent scandals will largely blow over, that people will forget about them. People forget about things all the time. His standards advisor, Lord Geidt, is reported to have pissed away his credibility by still finding Johnson innocent over the flat refurbishment, despite the absolute proof to the contrary. But the party were losing faith with him throughout last year. There was no up and down. It wasn't like, oh, Labour ahead in the polls now, oh, Boris, you're not the right one. And then, oh, you're back ahead in the polls. All right, Boris, you are the one. There was none of that. No up and down. It was all down. And the reason is not just his lack of probity. The reason isn't even just how he's killing the party in the polls. It's that he's not even trying to deliver what they see as Conservative policies. His grand levelling up agenda is not in line with what they support. He has changed the Conservative Party into something that was necessary to gain popular support. It's not gaining the support of those who are like the party faithful, as you may say. So Johnson's got no way back from the disdain felt in his party. But you can also see from these polls why people keep talking about Liz Truss replacing him. She has been consistently ahead in these satisfaction ratings. Sunak has slipped. His high tax budget did him no favours at all. He is at the moment desperately talking about the tax cuts to come in order to persuade the party faithful that he really is a good little Conservative. Although Sunak needn't panic, because aside from Truss, who is supported by Murdoch, nobody else above him is really that credible. Like the main challengers in the parliamentary party are all below him in terms of his membership poll. So all he really needs to do is to try and nobble Truss, and he's still in with a good chance. Truss herself has a bit of a political banana skin to negotiate now, because just as Sunak was arguably tripped up by Johnson's insistence on levelling up spending plans, which so far seems to have been used to repair the potholes in a private road belonging to a wealthy Tory aristocrat, Truss is also facing a problem with her new Brexit brief. Like I say, these satisfaction ratings are based on winning and delivering what the Conservative Party members want. If Truss can't get what is seen as a win, then her own ratings may falter. If she actually looks like losing, then she will experience the same slide that Sunak has faced. And I still think Johnson gave Truss the brief to trip her up. A lot of people said it made sense to move it into the Foreign Office, and maybe it did. It's a bit of a coincidence that it has the potential to trip one of his challengers up. Right now, I'm almost completely convinced that Johnson remains in place because there isn't an obvious replacement. Truss or Sunak could probably both win back the Tory heartlands, but they'd probably lose the red wall. That still loses the Conservatives the next election. Nobody has a credible plan to retain the red wall without losing the blue wall. So if Johnson keeps tripping up anyone who is seen as a credible successor, he may remain in place a little longer. Long enough, he may think, to turn things around. Not that he's making any efforts to do so, because Tory MPs who do still support him keep urging the Prime Minister to have a clear out of the useless sycophants in Downing Street. They're the people they blame. And he hasn't done that. And he will have no intention of doing so either. So his approval rating can do nothing other than slide amongst his own party members. They don't like his policies. They don't like the negative attention that his lack of control brings either. So those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, don't forget to click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, please also click the Patreon link for details. And until next time, I'll see you later.